Hi everyone, it's Elizabeth here. So I wanted to do this video, kind of like a spiritual video in regards to does co-creation exist? So the $1,000,000 question for so long has been, is everything written in stone with like fate and destiny, or, is there some form of free will on this planet? And can you co-create? I do think it's a little bit of a balance. I do think some things in life are set in stone and that you have a certain kind of function, job, or mission to do on this planet, but also there is some wiggle room, and that co-creation can exist. But I think co-creation a lot of times is really just seen in the world of abundance and money and just living off of like your passions and things like that, which is great. But the reality is the whole world can't just live off of their passion, because who's going to clean things? Who's going to take out the trash and be a garbage man if we're all like co-creators? So there are some people who believe that, the robots, it's like a total utopic idea. I heard this from some people that work at Microsoft. They think that the future is that the robots are going to do like the cooking and cleaning and the mundane tasks while humans kind of create. So I don't know, maybe one day, but to me that sounds far off from where we're kind of headed these days. So I guess I kind of, I've been thinking a lot about spirituality lately because I've been analyzing spiritual communities and just noticing certain things that are no longer in alignment with me. A lot of people are very, very selfish who work and live or whatever, claim that they're very spiritual individuals who have had to kind of sit back and pull back for a moment and think like maybe they're no different than any other normal human being, or maybe some people hide behind God and the universe or whatever for their weaknesses and struggles. And it doesn't mean that just because you're a spiritual person doesn't mean that you don't have actual weaknesses or problems to overcome on the planet. But I think the more spiritual people become, the more watered down a lot of theories or things get. Like I went to an event before the coronavirus hit, a moth event, and so there were two people that opened up a yoga studio, but they were both alcoholics and still struggling with alcoholism, which, to some degree I'm like, well, I'm glad that they found some of that light through yoga, but were they really in a seat of leadership at that point in time to be expressing so much theory when they themselves were still on a journey of becoming better human beings? I don't want to say that they were a mess, but they kind of were a mess. And where has the standards gone? So anyways, I have opened up my little Etsy shop, and I guess I kind of challenged the universe last week. I made like a very small sale for selling some vintage cards that people use for like scrapbooking, and it was only a $3 sale, and I was so excited, and I said, dear universe, let me have one more sale this week before Sunday, because I've learned through my time of manifestation and co-creation that you have to be a little specific. Saturday afternoon I heard my phone buzzed off, and I was like, oh my god, that's Etsy, I made a sale. And I was really excited because I was like, well, maybe this is part of co-creation. So I don't ever want to just talk about co-creation as just, this means of using the divine for your own, monetary gain. But I was like, oh man, maybe I, through this time of being a little skeptical on spirituality, is that maybe it brought me back to kind of re-believing in some of the divine and stuff like that. So anyways, here are 6 thoughts that are kind of like some first initial steps to co-creation. So I do believe that you can co-create, but first step is that it takes thought and action. You can't just put a thought out there and do nothing about it. If you are miserable at your job and you want a new job that, has this type of boss or quality of life, you kind of have to start looking for jobs and just let the divine and the unforeseen world do its thing. That's how I ended up finding one of my jobs that I was at for 6 years, a corporate wellness job. I was working for the government. I was miserable, and I was like, God, I wish I just had a job where I didn't have a boss that looked over my shoulder. I was left alone to do my work and blah, blah, blah. And then I ended up getting this job where I was the only employee. My boss worked at a different location, and we saw each other like once a year or once every other year because there was that trust built up that we would stay in communication via email, several days a week. But there just was a lot of independence in that job. So at that time, I was throwing my resume out everywhere, and that's the job that ended up working out randomly. So that's the first step. Some of co-creation also involves you to do a lot of spiritual work. It's like cleaning your house, cleaning your physical vessel, which is kind of my third point. It's getting a little healthier, because when you do become that vibratory channel, if your system is just filled with a bunch of junk, like a clogged pipe that is going to eventually clog your drain and clog your sink, you need to be a pure vessel. So if you're soaked in pharmaceuticals and with alcohol and all this fast food, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. It's just you become a more clear channel the cleaner your physical vessel is. And that also includes cleaning up some of your negative thinking. So you have to do some of the spiritual work. Whether that is believing in God, you have to start to change some of your belief systems. We're entering a very logical society. A lot of people in their form of enlightenment aren't even going to use the word God. They might use the word divine or source or the universe because they're not comfortable with that word yet, and that's totally okay. It's a path and it's a journey, so there should be no judgment there. I've known a lot of people who believe, but they're very negative people, and things just kind of worked out for them, so they are always being looked after. So I do think, though, it is important for your physical well-being to be healthy on a physical level, but also on a mental level. Thought stopping. If you are a chronic negative thinker, the fourth step is that you have to, if you're getting into these negative cycles, whether that's self-sabotage, I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or, nothing good ever happens to me, that victim mentality, once that starts to go down, once you notice it's happening, it has to be like a light switch. You have to learn how to retrain your brain and put a pause or a block or a barrier, and either give yourself a positive affirmation or change your thoughts or start thinking about something else. Sometimes you have to go through cognitive behavioral therapy or some sort of therapy in general in order to overcome a lot of that negative thinking. The fifth thing is that you must actually believe that it's possible. So much of this co-creation, law of attraction, abundance stuff is that people want the grand slam. They want to win the lottery. They want the big ass house. They want to go from being a cashier making $35,000 a year to making $150,000. It doesn't work like that. Everything is like a stepping stone. In order to, get to the home base, you have to go to first base, then you have to go to second base, then you have to go to third, and then home. Obviously, if you hit a home run or a grand slam, that's totally possible. But the majority of people in life take baby steps. And some of the biggest things that have ever been created on this life have started from small action and baby steps. The business started off as like a little tiny thing and then blew up to be this big business. So you must believe that it's possible. You must believe in yourself. And the final thing, the sixth thing, is a test question. Put a test out there, but something that's believable. For example, when I was in Arizona and I went to the vortex, one thing that was told to me was put a test out there that is believable. For example, if I'm in the middle of Arizona and I'm looking at water, I'm not going to ask for orcas to come popping out of water because the ocean is not connected to Arizona. But there are a shit ton of butterflies, so maybe you say, I want to see 2 butterflies swirling around in nature. And the next day, as I was taking photographs, I was just in a complete utter moment of peace and in happiness, I guess, or in joy. And then all of a sudden, two little butterflies started swarming around me in front of my camera. The same thing with that Etsy kind of test question. That was a believable and an achievable thing to do. Maybe when it's raining and the sun is out, maybe you can challenge to say, I want to see, a rainbow either today or this week while it's raining and the sun shining. That's very possible to do in spring. It's not possible to, be in Seattle, Washington and want to see some giraffes. Now, you actually might see a giraffe on like a bumper sticker or something like that as a car drives by. So that in itself might get manifested, but it's, don't expect to see like real life giraffes, or you might pop on YouTube and see a commercial about giraffes. So these things are definitely possible. But try to do a test question that is something that's achievable or relevant to your area or to your life. Not like, I want a brand new car type of thing. So when you think about co-creation, those 6 things, you have to do your spiritual work. You have to clean your physical and your mental vessel. You have to stop going down negative cycles. This is not to say to block out and not process those emotions. You need to process the emotions, but you have to stop going down the rabbit hole of chronic negative thinking that will lead you to either self-sabotage or depression. You must put some action to your thoughts. You have to do some of the work too. That's part of co-creation. You are doing some of the work on planet Earth while the divine is setting stuff up behind the smoke screen that you can't see and kind of guiding you down the right path. The 5th thing is you must believe, and you do a test question that is relevant for you. So those are some of like the initial things for co-creation. And then once the ball gets rolling and things get bigger and better, then maybe some things can help work out in your life. Like maybe you need help with the internet. It's not just to say like you're going to start a blog and all of a sudden it's going to be one of the highest reading blogs. That might come in 7 years' time, but maybe what you need right now to become that really well-known blog is that you need a tech person to help you with SEO content and to help with certain things. And unfortunately, that person may require compensation. So the universe might send you that, but maybe they'll strike up a deal with you. Those are all things that are part of co-creation. It's not just about getting things for free and working on money. Some things, abundance-wise in co-creation, doesn't even have to do or deal with money. We are so money obsessed, and it's sad because we live in a money-driven society. But sometimes the universe is abundant through gift giving. And that just, something might just pop up at your door or at your footstep. I had a friend that talked about how he needed to work on his car and he had no money at that point, had no money for tools. And he came home and saw a bunch of tools scattered in his parking spot at his apartment. That's pretty amazing. Those things can happen in life. All right, those are some thoughts that I have. If you have any stories or thoughts that you'd like to share on this, please note them below. But I do think that co-creation is possible, but it all starts with small steps that lead to bigger things. And it's not always rooted with just money and living off of your passion projects. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great day. See you next time. Bye.